Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be here. We're going to be talking, some of this will be an overlap with what you've already heard today, but the influence of social media on the field of dermatology, and kind of understand how it has shaped our specialty, whether you participate in it or not. And I'll just point out, I just had AI make that photo there. I love AI. I'm not on the forefront as some of the speakers from the last panel were on creating their own apps and everything, but I think it can be a powerful tool for our patients. Here we go. Okay, and that's me. I don't have any disclosures relevant to this topic at the time that I sent it in. Since I submitted my slides, I did launch a podcast on social media and healthcare. I'm not going to be talking about that today, but it's on, if you're interested as a physician in creating content, hopefully there might be something helpful there. What we want to cover today is kind of the evolution of dermatologists on social media, the key platforms that you can get involved in. And as you think about getting more involved in social media, it does not have to mean that you're getting on TikTok or getting on Instagram and trying to educate consumers. There's a lot of different ways that you can utilize social media to help you in your dermatology practice or to connect with industry and many other applications. Partnerships with companies we'll touch on, democratization of health information, and the overall influence on the field. Now, social media has been around for a long time. I think I joined Facebook in 2006, shortly after it launched, and have been there ever since. But early on, many different physicians did start to get involved on social media, and oftentimes that was initially with blogging, which was very popular. Then there was hashtag Derm Twitter. A lot of people got on Twitter very early. And as the platforms have evolved with their technology and their offerings, more dermatologists have come on board and created a variety of content styles to help to educate. I remember when I first got involved with TikTok, when I started creating content there, the whole Derm Twitter crowd was very much against dermatologists getting on Twitter. And it was probably the same reaction they got when they started getting into Twitter. And so there is a concern about your professional image when you start posting on social media and coming up with credible information. And so we're going to touch on some of that here as we go through. As time went on, though, as these platforms evolved, as more providers, dermatologists, physicians started getting involved, there was a growing acceptance of the role of healthcare providers in social media. And this was an image taken from Allure magazine. Dr. Corey Hartman, Dr. Michelle Henry, Dr. Josh Zeichner, and Dr. Mamina Torregano were all featured in this article as being excellent sources of health information online. And as the platforms have evolved, the role of physicians has increased. This was another example of just how mainstream that it has become. This was in Elle magazine. The Dermfluencer will see you now, many faces that you'll recognize there. And they published this when I still had hair. So many dermatologists were offering advice online that it generated many articles similar to this one about the types of advice, product recommendations, and other activities that dermatologists were participating in online. So the current landscape of social media is that there are now multiple dermatologists with large followings educating on social media and shaping the public perception of skin health. It's been a great tool to address misinformation and to share actual evidence-based information. And the thing that I always like to emphasize when I'm speaking about this topic is that these conversations will be happening whether we participate in them or not. And that goes for any field. So your colleagues in other specialties, I've encouraged many of them to get on social media as well, because there's conversations about women's health, about men's health. There's obviously skincare and dermatology conversations happening. And as we learned, the number of people participating in those conversations is overwhelmingly non-physicians. So if we're not there participating in these conversations, it's more likely that bad information will be disseminated, which travels much faster than accurate information. I do want to take a minute just to touch on some of the ways you can use the various platforms, regardless of whether you want to become a dermfluencer or not. Facebook is a great place to participate in discussions. And if you have a particular interest in alopecia areata or vitiligo, for example, you can go and you can join Facebook groups centered around those particular conditions, and you can become an expert voice there. That doesn't mean that you are creating and posting a lot of content, but you could be replying to comments and providing education and linking patients with resources on, the Vitiligo Association and the Alopecia Areata Association. You can also have a professional account on Facebook. And I've seen a lot of people get started with social media and they start posting their content on their personal Facebook page. And that's not the right way to do it. You want to create a new page for your professional profile. And that's a much better way to disseminate that, because then you're not going to get a crossover. People aren't going to accidentally, stumble on and start adding your, spouse as a friend or anything like that. So Instagram, a little bit different, not as much text on Instagram, but much more of a visual medium. Originally started as just photos and then became a video platform as well. And this is a great place to build a community and have a lot of engagement with your followers through stories, reels, and just having it's a little more aesthetic curation. TikTok is the newer player here. Short form video content is incredibly popular. TikTok revolutionized the way that every other platform now disseminates videos. Everybody has TikTok style videos. And there is the potential, rapid viral potential on TikTok. It has become more challenging than it used to be, but the potential is still probably there, greater on TikTok than any other platform. But you have to learn to be succinct in your messaging and be creative in order to stand out from the crowd. If you're not interested in being an influencer, so to speak, LinkedIn is a great place to share high quality information. You can talk about the research that you're doing, show that you are an expert in whatever your particular interest in, connect with industry leaders, connect with other physicians, and get opportunities to speak for companies and to work as advisors for companies, and maybe get connected to help found a company or participate in a startup. A lot of opportunities can happen through LinkedIn where you're not necessarily dancing on social media. Twitter, I think, is not as common for influencers to be on, but there are influencers on Twitter. And if you're good with writing, you can be creative, you can be engaging, it can be a place where you can stand out. Pinterest is often overlooked. It is one of the largest search engines in the world. And you can take content that you're already making elsewhere and you can post it on Pinterest and drive traffic to your website, drive traffic to e-commerce stores, drive traffic to your videos on other platforms. So it is important that we are participating in the conversation to provide accurate medical advice, to combat misinformation. One of the early videos that I had that went viral was an esthetician who was telling people not to use Cetaphil because she, quote unquote, said it was garbage because it didn't have any active ingredients in it. It wasn't going to be helpful. And instead, they needed to buy her medical grade skincare that she linked on her website. And I made a reply to this video as respectfully as I could and corrected that information. And my video reply ended up getting more views than hers. And that was an example where I thought people are getting good information for quality products that are not super expensive. You don't have to buy $100 lotions in order to get good results. We could also educate on preventative care a number of times. And anybody else here that's active on social media may have had this experience where people will message you and say, hey, I watched your video. I went and got checked. They found a skin cancer, but we're treating it early. And that's an incredibly rewarding experience. If you're only interested in social media for the practice building aspect of it, more and more patients are wanting to see their providers on social media. When they start researching, they want to see, do you have a Facebook, an Instagram, a YouTube, what kind of content? They want to get a feel for your personality to see if it's a good fit to come and see you before they call and book that appointment. And that is something that you can do regardless of the number of followers that you have. We can network with colleagues. We can network with industry experts. We can stand out as a KOL. There's a lot of different things that happen on social media around specific days. We've got Dermatology Day coming up on the 13th. There's World Skin Health Day, and you can participate in these trends to help drive specific patient education opportunities. We already discussed briefly the scientific partnerships. And as you do these things on social media, whether you're partnering with industry on over-the-counter products or with pharmaceuticals, it's always important to remember the ethical guidelines for doing that and proper disclosures. One of the biggest challenges is everybody's attention spans are so short. How do you disseminate that information in bite-sized bits to, make it simple enough, but also deliver enough high-quality information? And that's kind of where the art of social media comes in, is learning to deliver that information accurately, succinctly, maintain attention. And the thing that I love to tell people is you don't have to be perfect to start. You just have to start. You will get better with time. Have fun, play with it, be creative. And it's a journey that I've really enjoyed, learning to create better content, having a lot of fun, educating through social media. We're helping people who wouldn't otherwise have access to high quality dermatology information due to living in areas without a lot of dermatologists, maybe in a very rural area, and we can still help them be educated, know when they need to go get screened if they're concerned about something, because we educated on the ABCDs of melanoma. We can do live events where we answer questions in real time and cultivate a community of people who turn to us for high quality information. It does take time, as we talked about, and it is something that you have to be committed to if you want to approach your content in that way. You don't have to in order to participate in social media, though. There's lots of different ways to do it. And there are challenges on there. This was a post that went viral recently. This WTF is up with dermfluencers, where a cosmetic chemist got real angry about some of the information that dermatologists were putting out. And so there are turf wars, so to speak, that can still happen on social media. You have to have a little bit of thick skin to do it. There will be disagreements. There will be people who leave nasty comments from time to time. And you have to learn how to deal with those. And those are things, you know, shoot me a message. I'm happy to give you advice on that. The block button works really well when you need it. Public awareness for dermatology care. This is one of the biggest influences of social media on our field of dermatology, regardless of whether you participate in it or not. You are seeing a more educated consumer coming into your office. They're talking about their products. They're educated on biologics when they have psoriasis. So social media has increased the education baseline of the patients coming in to see us in many cases. And that is something you can participate in that conversation, or you can refer your colleagues to reputable people online that are talking about it. So if you don't want to have a whole conversation about every skincare product, send them to Manib's page and let him talk about it. Thanks, Manib. You can do online conferences. There's a lot of opportunity for you to get your own education. Many of us are on the Board Certified Dermatologist Facebook page, which is a great resource to consume information to help your patients out by discussing case studies or learning from other people's case studies. AI, we learned about that a lot in the last session. I'm not going to touch on AI a whole lot, but it will continue to rapidly change what we're able to do in dermatology, and patients are using it to get their own diagnoses and treatment recommendations. So we have to be aware of what is out there and how patients are using it. So I would encourage people to be more active on social media, whether you want to post your own content, participate in discussions, connect with industry. It is something that will become increasingly important in our profession, and it can be done, you know, with strategy and with the proper ethics. And I think we're taking questions at the end. So thank you very much.